Hey everyone, welcome back to the Kirkpatrick podcast. It is Vanessa, and we've got one of my favorite guests that has come back, Myra Roldan, my girl, all of our girl, the one I go to whenever I'm trying to figure out what the heck this thing called artificial intelligence is, the one when I need, a little bit of a pick-me-up, a girl, you got this. My girl, Myra, is the one and only that can do this. Myra, how are you today?
I'm surviving just like everyone else, right? Like it's the times. So
Yeah.
just
Busy,
getting by.
busy. Um,
Yeah.
well, for those of you that have not heard our podcast, we do have a podcast from I think probably a year and a half ago, where we were talking about AI and things like that. So I'll make sure that's linked. But for those of you that are not familiar with you, Myra, do you mind sharing a little bit about your background and a little bit about you and some of the fun things that you're working on these days?
Yeah, definitely. So first of all, so great to see you. I always love seeing you, even if it's virtually.
In
But
person's
I'm
better though.
Myra, as I know. I'm a chief AI officer for a company called Industrial AI. It's my own AI business transformation company. So I work with all types of companies to help them operationalize AI, not just bolt it onto the side as like this thing that they carry along, because there's a lot of risks to that. And so I've been in the AI space for about 15 years. AI is older than ChatGPT, just if you didn't know that. It is. You've been using it silently, just never called it AI. There's things like, Netflix, Amazon shopping, my cell phone, I'm texting. So what I've been doing is I am a framework girl. I create frameworks for everything to try and help to simplify what all of this generative AI thing is, and how do we use it effectively, responsibly, without creating like huge security issues, which is a big thing. I do work with the U.S. government and military, training them on AI. I also work with pharmaceutical, finance and banking, so a lot of compliance industries, healthcare, and then I have some smaller non-compliance driven industries that I work with, like manufacturing, L&D. So I have a broad portfolio. And then I don't know what I'm working on these days. Like I've been forever writing this book, and I am working on it, having to put the final kind of edits to it so I can get it out. It's a book on one of my frameworks called the LEAD framework. So that's what I'm working on right now.
Nice. Are you using AI to help you write the book?
No, because I am very picky about.
Fair.
So actually, let me retract that. Yes, I'm doing the writing though, because what I'm using AI for is to do the research. So pulling peer-reviewed papers, reading through, summarizing, pulling articles. So I'm quoting going through like a lot of McKinsey, Gartner reports, Forrester, then those peer-reviewed papers and archive, and those scholarly papers also, because I'm focusing it, like I want it to be data-driven. I don't want it to be fluff.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't want it to be like pie in the sky. So it's based on a lot of the work that I've done, but also like what other companies are finding in industry, but from, respected sources. So.
Yeah. I found when I was doing the research for my book, if I did not have Perplexity to help me, that would have been one of the longest pieces for me. And it really, and some things I probably would have never even found. Right. And so having that help of finding it and categorizing it and helping me, read through it and summarize, and then I could dive deeper where I needed to dive deeper. I mean, I think I signed my deal in December, and then because I wanted it out for ATD ICE in 26, they were like, you've got until the end of April to get the whole thing done. I'm like, okay. And it was like the holidays were like 2 weeks later. And so to get an entire book written. Now, obviously, I have the help of contributors like you, which was amazing. But to really get the whole book written, read all of yours, edit all of yours to make sure that it fit with the rest of the book. I mean, yeah, if I had to sit down and do research, which I'm not, I cannot sit and do that much, that would have been a lot. Well,
Yeah.
I want to kick us off with this concept of AI versus like what is reality? Because I think that there's a lot of hype. I know that you talk about a lot of, there's a lot of hype out there. What are organizations currently misunderstanding about AI?
They're misunderstanding a lot. So I think the first misunderstanding is that they're behind. Automatically, they're behind. And they're not. So when you have every single customer I talk to, they're telling me like, we're behind. We don't have this ready. So if you're telling me you're behind, but your competitors are telling me they're behind, and we're hearing about all these companies, they're saying they're falling behind, then you're not really falling behind. Then everyone's behind, right? Everyone's falling behind. So that's the first misconception. I think the second misconception is this whole idea that just because you're employees and you have used AI in your personal life and you've kind of putz around with it, you've, had it create some content, maybe a blog post, maybe answer a little email or something, that translates into a business use of AI. And it's huge, huge misconception that is costly. So it's expensive, right? Because you have these companies that are like rolling out full licenses to their employees. And then when you talk to them and ask them like, okay, what's your adoption rate? And they're like, I had one customer when I was onboarding them tell me, like, I asked them that question and they were like, oh, we have like a 90% adoption rate. And I was like, oh my God, that's like huge. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, what do you need me for? What do you need me for? Right.
Yeah.
And then their IT person came on who was doing the telemetry, like looking at the usage rates, and basically came on and said, well, really a lot of people are using it as a meeting note reader. And so we're counting that as adoption. And so, So a lot of the work that I do is helping companies find those use cases internally so they can operationalize AI. I want to say the third misconception, and so they're getting more expensive, right? So I'm going from like least expensive to more expensive. So, think you're falling behind, not too expensive. This whole idea of like personal AI is the same as business AI, that gets expensive. The most expensive thing that companies are getting wrong is this whole idea that everyone is now a programmer. I had one company who gave their employees licenses to Claude Code so they can use Claude Code, right? So Claude, they can use Claude Code, enterprise license. So like they're in a closed system, which is great, but now they're increasing their tech debt. And tech debt is debt. Think about it as like credit card debt, right? So they have a credit card. Now they've given everyone in their company a credit card and they've given them like no cap, right? And so now people are just creating AI agents. They're doing all these things, writing applications. And their cybersecurity teams are really getting run through the mill. And they're increasing their tech debt, which means that now there's all this code in their infrastructure that the people who created it don't understand it and can't fix it if it breaks. And it's creating security holes, right? And so it's increasing their tech debt. And in fact, I'm writing an article on that right now around tech debt because tech debt is increasing by 25,000%.
Wow.
Which is, sorry, not 25,000, 2,500%. Let me retract that. 2,500%. Still a huge number.
So big.
Right? 2,500%. And it can really bankrupt a company when it comes to their technical infrastructure because then they're bleeding money through their architecture. Yeah.
You hit a nerve when you said everyone, anyone feels like they're a programmer. And look, as someone that plays around in tools like Lovable, just to create like, to your point, right? Things that we can use internally to help like I was working on like a grader, like all these things. So I'm like, let me just see what I can do. Right. And it makes me think that I can do a lot, and I can to a certain point. Right. But then things do go wrong and they break. And then I'm like, I don't even know how to fix it, where to fix it. I don't know what I'm looking at exactly. And then I think about, okay, if I were to turn this around, whatever it is I'm working on, right, and make it like fully public, what is like, sorry, lots of thoughts are running through my mind. What's the security back end? You know what I mean? Like where are the actual holes? Is it actually working properly? And I think there is an over reliance and not understanding that like it's a great jumping off point and it's a great starting point and it's a great way to do like an MVP for really inexpensive to get that proof of concept. Like if you're going to go get funding or, whatever it is that you need. But it cannot and should not be, right? What is you then deploy out there without having someone who knows things about security and about, what happens if it breaks, like being so mindful around the back end. And frankly, I don't want to be that responsible over, another organization's, data and things like that. So yeah, get the professionals, my friends. Like you can start it, but at some point you definitely need the experts to come in and help you. And I think that's where sometimes I fear that AI in general is making organizations feel like they don't need the expert anymore because AI is going to be the expert for them.
Yeah. There's an increase in Dunning-Kruger effect. And, Dunning-Kruger, for those of you who don't know what Dunning-Kruger effect is, also called the Barnum effect. And it's basically that people who know very little have an overconfidence in what they know. And so they then begin to purport it as truth. So it's almost like a barker, like step right in, like, right, come and see our brand new beautiful AI is going to do all this stuff. And the people that do know what they're doing, we kind of stand behind and we're like in the background, we're like, you really shouldn't do that because like, we don't know, we don't have like all the answers, but the person who's struggling with, who's suffering from Dunning-Kruger event or effect, they know everything. They're the experts. You can't tell them anything because like, you don't know anything. And for me, I get a lot of like, what do you know? Like,
yes. Yep.
What do you know? Right. So,
yeah. That's huge problem. So, okay. So one of the things that we hear a lot is we have a lot of data. There's data everywhere. And that's not untrue. First part of the question, do you think that AI is adding data to us, or is it helping us in some way? And then the second part is, what's the difference between having all of this data and actually understanding the data?
Okay. So let's do the first one. So is AI creating more data for us? So we need to understand how large language models work and how generative AI works. It's been trained on historical data. So it's been trained on internet data, Reddit data, wiki data, Facebook data, like all the data that we have put out there in the ethernets and the internets, right? It is then creating new content based on historical data. So it's not just like creating it out of fresh like data that it has.
Yeah.
Right. So AI is creating data for us. It is creating content for us, right? Based on data points that we provided.
Right.
In some instances, it is analyzing data, helping us to analyze data, right? So we can tell stories with the data, understand what the data is telling us, try to figure out like, what do we do with all this data? And so that's where, this whole thing about like having data and understanding your data. I have a lot of customers, like a lot of these corporations have been around for a long time. A lot of businesses have been around for a long time. I had one of my first clients, they had 30 years of data for their company.
Totally guacamole.
Is that data relevant today? All of it?
I mean, yeah, no.
Think about it, right? Like the company has evolved over 30 years.
The
So the
world's about,
data that they
yeah.
have,
Mhm.
so the data that they have from like 20 years ago, good historical data,
Yeah.
right? Is that data still valid today? More than likely not,
Yeah.
right? Data from 10 years ago, is it still relevant? Some of it may be,
Mhm.
right? So I
Yeah.
think the point that we really need to stand on is like how much of your data is actually relevant data that you really should be using,
Mhm.
right? If you're trying to, for example, create an internal closed AI system,
Yeah.
right? How much of your data is actually relevant? Do you need all 30 years of data? No,
Mhm.
right? That's overkill, and you're going to end up with hallucinations. So, like AI making things up when it's really not making things up, it's just based on historical data,
Mhm.
right? It's basing it on like what it knows, what you trained it on. And so it's important to understand your data. It's important to wrangle your data. So like get all your data, understand where all your data sits. It might be on someone's laptop, it may be in a database, it may be in SharePoint, it may be in a OneDrive, in a box, and like all these places that we put data in, right?
Yeah.
Put all that data in one place, right? Create like a data lake. A data lake is like just what it sounds like, right? All your data flows through one pipeline. So then you can decide which of that data is good and which one is relevant to your organization. And that's a huge task. It's not an easy task. It's not as easy like, I'm just going to collect all these data points. I'm going to just like, it's going to be magic. Data cleaning is a huge task in its own, and data management.
Yeah.
And organizations are not prioritizing the fact that they need to make sure that their data is correct and that they have identified the data that they're going to allow employees to use and not use with generative AI.
So this brings me to a question I have, and it's something that I think a lot about, like with the book and like evaluation, and you know, the missing piece for me, like when I came into Kirkpatrick and I really started looking at how people were using evaluation, right? Um, what I saw was sending, one person to come in to learn all the skills of how to use the thing, and then they're supposed to go back and be the champion for the entire organization and get everybody to use this thing, right? And to do the things. And what I noticed what was missing was they weren't going back to an organization that has the systems or the infrastructure to do this work, to clean dirty data, right? Because even if you're not, even with evaluation work, like the work we're doing in our space, some of that data isn't even one for one or accurate, but we're trying to like kind of Swiss cheese it together, like make it make sense. So in your work, how have you seen the lack of, systems or infrastructure affect an organization?
Yeah, and I think you and I had some extensive conversations about this offline. We
Yeah.
constantly talk about this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
With evaluation and kind of data.
Very hot topics, our phone calls. You could tell we really love to gossip. Or we are
Yes, we
Spanish,
really
so there
like to
is a little
gossip
bit of
about data.
gossiping. We are chismosos a little bit.
Yeah. So I would say that the real impact to organizations, especially when it comes to like evaluation and measurement, right? So, and we've had this discussion that, the Kirkpatrick model, right, can be used to evaluate an AI implementation, right?
Yeah.
It can be measured. It's not only to measure employees, right? You can measure your entire business using the Kirkpatrick model.
Yeah.
And we've discussed this at length, right? And I would say that where it is hurting businesses when they don't have like all the data, or their data is just they don't know what data to use. One is that they end up looking at the wrong data, right? To tell a story, whether it's about an employee, their business, their processes, their implementations.
Yeah.
Many times they end up looking at the wrong data, or not a complete picture of the data, right? So then they get like a skewed story. Then your view is skewed, right? And that's just the whole being able to use data for storytelling, which I'm really big on. Your data tells a story. And if you can wrangle the right data pieces, right, based on like, what is the story that you're trying to tell, you can create a more complete picture. But a lot of organizations are more interested in like, oh, like, I don't know, how many people completed, let's go with learning, right? How many people completed X course, right? We say like, I don't know, 150 out of 200, that's a win, right? Automatically, that's a win. Why is it a win?
Right.
What's the stakes, right? What's the impact that it had? Can you measure like the behavior change, right? Did it drive a behavior change? Did it drive an impact to your bottom line? And so that's a whole miss, right? That's like a whole like gray area for a lot of organizations, or even a black hole.
Truly a black hole. What do you think the role is of a leader in an organization as they're looking at AI and how to embed it into their organization?
This is a whole podcast in itself.
Maybe I'm setting this up for the next one. We'll make an AI series.
So this is what I'm going into in my book, the Lead Framework. I created the Lead Framework to help leaders lead in this new era of AI, right? So the first thing they need to do is look at their business goals.
Level 4,
sounds obvious, right? Sounds obvious, but you should start looking at your business goals, right? And then you need to ask yourself, why are we integrating AI? What's the problem we're trying to solve? And what's the outcome that we want to get to? And I think leaders are being lazy when they tell me like, oh, we want to increase efficiency. Well, what's your efficiency at right now? Are like you guys tanking? Right? Like, are people not performing? Are, what's the problem? And usually when you dig a little bit deeper, it's because they feel they're falling behind, right? And I think leaders need clarity. They need to be clear on what your business goals are. How is AI going to align to those business goals? How are you going to operationalize AI, right? To be able to work alongside your employees to give them extra powers, right? Especially in this era where we're seeing super lean teams, like departments of 1 and 2, who are expected to carry full loads of like a team of 5 or 6 or even 10, right? So how do you operationalize AI to work as a partner side by side with your employees to increase that efficiency and so you can get a return on performance also for your employees. And so it requires you to be very methodical. You need to have strategy. You need to have guardrails. You need to have governance. You need to have clarity on what data is allowed and isn't allowed. There's legal structures. So we have a client right now who is a highly regulated, they're in a highly regulated business or industry. And one of the issues that we had to take up to legal is the fact that when they open a document, they use Copilot. When they open up a document, Copilot, it automatically summarizes at the top. So it's reading the data. And so if there's PII, like social security numbers, names, birthdays, addresses, like, all that information, social security numbers, is that allowed? Like, can we allow these documents to be opened in Microsoft Word when it's doing an automatic read of the data?
Yeah. I didn't even think of that. And is that something that you can turn on and off?
So Microsoft, as of like a month ago, completely integrated Copilot into your environment. So I don't know right now if you can turn off like just one feature. I think it's an on and off thing right now. And I don't think you can even turn it off because it's integrated into the whole thing. In an enterprise environment, I think you have a little bit more control, but we end up having to go to legal to figure out like, what is legal's guidance on it? We didn't go to IT.
No.
We had to go to legal. right?
And now I'm thinking about all the
So think
implications
about,
on the back end. Yeah.
yeah, think about that,
That's a huge
right? So you
potential
have,
problem.
yeah, so you have, so for instance, you have Copilot, right? That's integrated. Gemini's also, like if you're a Google
Google. Mhm.
shop, we're a Google shop at Desto, and you open a document, you get that little, Gemini doesn't do it, Google does. I mean, Microsoft does, where it gives you automatically, this is a summary of your document. It
Yep.
just reads through your document,
Mhm.
If you're not in a closed environment, meaning like you're not in an enterprise environment where you have like enterprise licenses and that protection, you could be opening yourself up to
Mhm.
some legal issues, right? So it was an interesting journey to have to go down, because I hadn't thought about that either.
Yeah. No. And I think
You
that
know?
that's gonna be us for a minute, right? Is
Yeah,
until the use case is in front of you, you're gonna be like, oh, I don't know. I don't know what to do about that, or I don't know
yeah,
what to say about that, right?
yeah,
Because it hasn't come up yet. And and that's just, I
yeah.
think, where we're gonna be.
Yeah, and I would tell you that as someone who works with companies, um, you have to be all right with saying like, I don't know. And I am very quick to tell you like, I don't know, but let me
Yeah.
research it. Let's get some guidance, right? I don't have to have all the answers.
Yeah. I love that. I don't have to have all the answers. So I think that so many people feel like they have to have all the answers. And it's okay to say, not really sure, but we're going to figure this one out. I haven't seen this one just yet.
Yeah, let's figure it out.
Yeah. Um, so one of the things that I think is a really exciting aspect of integrating AI is um, the ability for the AI to help you produce insights. And what I've
Mhm.
seen in a lot of, just always, right? We get a lot of dashboards, a lot of reports. Like I love a Power BI situation. You're connecting all this data, but you're looking at a report and you're like, what does this even mean? Like, I don't get it. Now
Yeah.
I've got to sit down and make that inference and do that piece. And I'm like, wouldn't it be nice to have a nice summary of what this data actually means? And I think now with AI, we have that sort of ability. Um, where are you seeing AI working really, really well when it comes to insights and storytelling?
Yeah, I would say and not all AI, right? Because you got to pick the right AI for the job. So
Mm.
that's the first thing, right? Not
Hmm.
like they can all read data, but there are some AI that are designed to work with data. And I will tell you that this is one of the areas where Copilot shines. You have tools like Julius AI, which is for data analysis, right? These tools shine because they know they're built to work with data,
Yeah.
with large amounts of data. And so um, that is where I've seen some really good like data analysis. There's also another tool that I really love for like healthcare called Wolfram AI. And so basically and it can just a ton of data, like millions of records. We're talking about not just like a couple hundred records, but we're talking like large, big data, right?
Hmm.
To actually start to find patterns and start to be able to analyze the data to help you find trends, help you be able to forecast, help you to be able to make some decisions around whatever it is that you're trying to make a decision around,
Yeah.
right? Copilot does not work with big data directly, like you can do it in Excel. So it's limited to how many ever fields Excel does have a limit.
Mhm. That's
On a
it.
spreadsheet, there's a limit, right?
I've
You can
never
hit a
seen
limit.
it.
Yeah, there is a limit.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, you can hit a limit. And I have hit that limit where it's like, nope, stop. I can't do anymore. I
Hmm.
can't take it anymore. But you can go to like Azure and use,
Hmm.
AI inside of Azure. AWS has some tools also. So if you want to do like real data analytics, that's like on big data, like if you have a bunch of like learning data, business data, I would
Yeah.
say go with the right AI for the job so you can do that kind of analysis.
But don't you risk now having to have a ton of different types of AI and now we're adding a bunch of subscriptions and all of that? Like as an organization, because I do agree with you and I see it right in the work that we do. Like we'll use one tool for one thing, another tool for another, but then like our subscriptions are going up through the roof, right? How can we account for that or kind of have some sort of guardrails or boundaries for, not trying to buy every tool out there to solve every problem?
Yeah. So let me ask you this I'm going to ask you a question.
Ooh.
So what are the tools that you find yourself most often using?
So I'll use Julius AI. We're like doing like our like impact study analyses and things like that. We will use Notebook LM. We'll use ChatGPT for like general like basic B stuff, I don't love Copilot personally, so we don't really use that, even though we're actually a mix of both a Microsoft and a Google shop. And Claude is our other really big one that we're using.
Okay. What if I told you that you can ditch ChatGPT?
Okay.
And you could go with Copilot. This is because Copilot now has access or allows you to select either ChatGPT, so GPT, or Claude as your model. Right. So now you don't have to have a Claude subscription. You don't have to have a ChatGPT subscription. That's $40 out the window per user. Right. Julius AI isn't integrated into anything. Julius, the people who should have a license are the ones that should,
use it,
need to have the license.
Yeah.
It has to be based on who needs to use it. Right. You're also a Google shop. So Notebook LM is integrated into Google. So that means you also have access to Gemini.
Right.
And in Gemini, you can also select GPT and Claude.
Okay. I hear you. I will try. You know what it is too? I won't lie. Some of it for me is just like habit.
Yeah. So you just got to break the habit.
I've got to break the habit. I've got to make the commitment, do the, rewire the neurons up here,
I would say once you disconnect like Claude and ChatGPT, and then you have to like log into it and you just have like Copilot and you have to do Edge. I always just keep Edge open for my clients because I'm a Google workshop. So we use Perplexity is my go-to. And then we have Gemini with our platform. And in Perplexity, I can use Claude and I can use GPT and I can, you know what I mean? Yeah. I also use, because I do a lot of builds, people always ask me like, you do a lot of builds. How are you testing models? I use Hugging Face, which is for Hugging Face.
Hugging Face. Did I hear that right?
Hugging Face. Yes, you heard it right.
Okay.
Like Hugging Face. It has a little emoji. And in Hugging Face, I can try a bunch of different models to build like little spaces, right? Where I can do things to test things and be okay and be like, okay, that's good. Or I don't like this model. It's slow, or like that model is fast enough. So, and then I use Poe. Poe gives you access to all of the models. Poe gives you access to auto. It's so underrated, but when you want to test models, Poe is the way to go.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I want to, why would I use, let's go through like the major models, right?
Yeah.
And what are they best at? Obviously we know Julius is the best for data analysis. What's Perplexity the best at?
Yeah. Research.
Yep. What about ChatGPT?
ChatGPT has been losing its luster, but ChatGPT is still like, your good old general like model, right? Like it can.
Okay, I'm not gonna say. I'm not gonna say what just like I'm not gonna say what's in my head. It's like a gateway, You could start playing around with it. You could see what and it helps you get into it. Okay, all right. It's like a good first, boyfriend or girlfriend. They were really good. Nice. They're very nice.
It's your starter.
Yeah, your starter.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Gemini.
Um, Gemini is, so it depends, right? So Gemini, if you're a Google house, like I am, it works because it's integrated into your like your ecosystem, into like your platform. So it'll follow you across the different Google tools,
Okay.
right? Good for its general purpose, like ChatGPT. It is like another.
Would you say the same for
general
Copilot?
purpose. Um, Copilot last year, it was like a starter trailer, like a mobile home. Right?
Got it. Okay.
It has moved into like a, I don't know, like a family home, right? So you can have your family in your home. Everyone's doing something different, but you can track what everyone's doing.
Okay.
Right. It's great at Excel. It's getting a little bit better creating PowerPoints on its own. I've been beta testing something called Office Agent. And Office Agent, hit or miss still, but it's in beta. They're working on it. But it's getting there. It's getting there. I will tell you that Perplexity, let's just go back to Perplexity. I use Perplexity Computer, and I dig it. But it does require that you have Perplexity Computer. It does require that you have an enterprise license or a Pro Max license. And basically, it is like an agent.
Oh.
So you can connect it to all of your different tools and have it do things. Like it acts like my email assistant. It acts as my calendar assistant. It will go through and tell me when I have to draft something. It'll pull up draft proposals for me. It'll do a bunch of stuff based on my files. So it's not creating it from scratch, but it will say like, hey, like this proposal that you created for this client might be good for this client.
Nice. Claude.
Claude is, I would say it's in the home, like the Copilot, right? It's good for a home. Okay. More than a starter home, right? It's not a mobile home. It's not a starter home. It's like a, like
you're going to live in it for a while. House. Your kids are going to remember it. Eventually you're going to want to move on. Yeah.
The problem actually, Claude would be like, let me take that wrangle it back a little bit. So Claude is like your live-in unit in your home.
Tell me more.
Like, your in-law unit.
Oh, your in-law suite.
Your in-law suite, because it does not have its own platform integrated. It does not have it relies on other tools. It relies on Google and Microsoft to be able to create documents, slides, and PowerPoint for presentation. So, and that's the same with ChatGPT. These are standalone tools that don't have a platform of their own. So they rely on other platforms to be able to perform the work. And so Copilot, the advantage it has is that it's already in your ecosystem. Gemini, already in your ecosystem. And both can take over your screen and do things for you. Did you know that?
No, I don't think I would want it to take over my screen. That makes me nervous.
I love it because I hate filling out forms.
Oh, wait, I can fill out forms? Okay, well then. I've got a bunch of stuff, a bunch of forms I need to fill out when I get home. So there's a lot of things that need to be happening.
We just filed for our women-owned business certification. There's so many documents and so many things, and I use Perplexity tied into my whole environment and Gemini at the same time, and it was beautiful.
Oh, you did that the SBA? Did it through the SBA or through WeBank?
WeBank.
Yeah. Yeah. That the amount of paperwork is just
it's crazy,
insane.
Yeah.
I appreciate that all the verification that you need, but no, it's insane.
Yeah.
Okay. What AI is what's our starter pack, right? And what, obviously we have Copilot or Gemini, depending on what you are, but like, is Gamma in your starter pack? Is Poe in your starter pack? Like, what should we be adding so people can actually get out of like the basic things that we can do with it and start to really explore more the real power?
Okay. So I would say pick a house, Microsoft or Google, right? Pick your house. Which is your house?
Oh, my house?
And then try to.
Okay. No, okay. Yeah. You're being generic. Okay.
Yeah. Which is your house?
Oh, my house? Which I mean, we mix both. I mean, really, all of our documents are Microsoft. It's just our emails in Google because I haven't made the switch.
Okay. So you have two houses that you're living in at the same time. So you have a beach house and you have a main house, right?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would say exploit those tools to the max. Learn how to use them to the point where you are stressing them so much where it's just like it can't do what you need it to do. Right? Because the more you use it, the better it's going to get. Especially with Copilot, now that they've integrated Claude with it, it's like on steroids now, right?
Love it.
So you just have to learn how to use it because there's Power Automate, there's Power BI, there's a bunch of other tools in there that you can use that you probably have not even considered, right? Okay. The same with if you're a Google house, Google has a bunch of tools that no one even thinks about, right? So use those tools first. Most companies don't need to go to like a Julius AI, right? It's good for your company because you're working with diverse data from different customers, right? And from different, so it helps you in that way. But for most people, I'd say exploit the AI you have already, ditch the other licenses, save yourself some money. Get used to using, turn AI, I almost said something very inappropriate. Turn AI into your intern, right? That's just like right there side by side. And in Copilot or in Gemini, take the time to teach it, right? As you have it open. So when I always have Gemini open when I'm replying to emails and stuff, and I'll tell it, this is how I reply to emails. So I'll tell it, look at this example. This is how I reply to emails. And this is how I like my calendar. So I always have it open. This is how I format this specific document. So when I ask you to pull up, I don't know, the proposal framework, this is what I'm talking about. Right.
I love that.
Yeah. So, because then you'll see that you can tell it, pull up like for me, I tell it, pull up the proposal, like, so I don't have to search for it. I just tell it, pull up the proposal, like, open it for me. And then it's there, right? I'm
so not using any of these tools to their full capacity. It's just, it's just, and I think I am most people, right? Where it's like to have, my plate is full to learn to do one more thing or to remember to do that thing, even though, and it feels like a lot of extra work, right? And I also know that if I take the time to do the work now, later on, it's going to be so much easier. Like I know, like, I've created some like GPTs to create some like reports and stuff for me. Or like, if I put in like a transcript, it'll give me, some sort of summary. So I can do my proposals via Stir and things like that. It takes a minute and like, or even the podcast, like I've got like to create the content from it, the show notes, this, that, all the blog, the newsletter, like, the amount of things that I have had to create out of one, 30 to 60-minute podcast, in the past would have taken weeks to, do all of the things, to do the writing, to do all of that. And I finally created the right prompting. I had trained in. It was like, no, like, that was terrible, fix, check yourself before you wreck yourself again. And like, let's fix this, and it's now, I can put it in there, the transcript from the episodes, it'll come out. And I'm making like little tweaks here and there, just like I would for anybody else, even if it's all human driven, I would still have probably made little tweaks here and there, right? Because we just have our preferences, but it's nowhere near amount of time. But that upfront time, it was a pain in the butt at first to do the tweaking. You're like, why can't you just get it right the first time? But then once it's done, like a crock pot, you set it and almost forget it. You do want to check on it. We all watched that episode of This Is Us, but yeah.
So try it in Copilot. Move that prompt that you created and move it into Copilot and create a Copilot assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Because with Copilot, you can then have it generate a PowerPoint, a Word document. You can do Excel visualization.
Is it a nice PowerPoint though?
It's getting better now. Yeah.
Okay.
They're getting so much better now. You and I are going to have to do a session. I'm actually planning some public classes on how to integrate Copilot and how to use it to the max. So,
oh my God, I think, I will be right there. I'll be the one cheering for you and being like, and then learning as obviously at the same time. But yes, I'm your first student that needs to do this. So you know how much I have on my plate with like the kids and all of the things. All right, this is now just so everybody knows, this has now become my coaching AI session. But I did want to thank you all for being part of my AI therapy. Well, so just so you all know, Myra's chapter in the book is all about how do you evaluate the usage of AI in an organization? Because to her point earlier, there is a difference between adoption and usage, right? And there's a difference between, what is that return that we're getting on implementing this thing? And I want to also be clear that just like any and every software implementation in the history of software being implemented, it is always going to be a negative return or not much in the very beginning because people are still getting used to it. They're trying to understand it. And that is true when it comes to AI. And I would also say that it's going to feel like that a little bit longer and deeper because it moves quicker. You're also not just dealing with software adoption. You're dealing with security, concerns. You're dealing with folks, our own hesitation to using something that we don't feel like we really know enough about. And so it doesn't mean don't measure, but it also means, I think it's a great story of showing of just because something is a negative return or maybe not as much of a return that you thought it was going to be, does not mean that you ditch it just yet. You learn from it, you learn what's working, what's not, and you continue to tweak it. Like that whole concept of monitoring and adjusting is exactly the perfect use case outside of, learning space, right? Is, okay, what do we need to provide people? Oh, we never gave them governance documents. We need to talk to them about our security and, why they don't need to hesitate. You're not training your replacement, right? Like all of those things. That's what that evaluation of AI usage in your organization is going to tell you to help you. So anything you want to add to that?
I think you summarized that beautifully. I would also say that don't be quick to the trigger on letting go of your people.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, you should reskill your people, upskill them, right? Because you're going to need new roles within your organization. And why would you lay off your business intelligence? Because your people are your business intelligence, especially people who have been in your company for 5 years or more.
Mm-hmm.
Those people know where the bodies are buried.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why would you treat them like they are expendable? That's
so, what a beautiful thing for you to say. I don't know if you were, so we're using a tool and so we're recording two episodes back to back. So I was recording Dr. Ben Granger's session right before. And so I don't know if you were, you popped on a couple minutes early. I don't know if you caught this when he was talking about their, Qualtrics is publishing research on, what are the skills that employees are going to need for 2030. And it's exactly what you're saying is it's not that you don't need the people. It's that all of the things that make humans humans is what you need them to do now more than ever. And so it's going to be very interesting to see who can make that shift and want to do those things versus, where if you don't want to be a human, I don't know, build relationships and do all of those things, how do you leverage your skills in light of having a tool like AI that can replicate a lot of those things? Like I think about, honestly, the work that we do, right? I'm like, I mean, AI is going to be able to do impact studies like pretty quickly. I mean, it already kind of can. What's our value as Kirkpatrick partners, right? And it's still in the human, building the relationships, pulling people together, understanding the dynamics, right? To be able to also interpret some of that data because, AI is not going to be able to understand that, that quote was pulled, but I also know the politics behind some of that and the person that shared that. And we need to maybe analyze it with a different lens because there's context that the AI wouldn't have picked up.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly it, right? It's just that AI is good at putting information together, right? When it does it correctly, it's good at putting information together. AI can't replicate a human. It cannot replicate our human behavior. It does not understand the nuance. We are complex. Humans are complex. Yep. We have complex thinking, right? We will overanalyze things to the point that it will drive us to anxiety, right?
I don't know what you're talking about. I will analyze a text for hours and send it to all of my friends.
AI will not do that, right? AI will not do that. AI will be like, yeah, it's all right. Right. Like, here's the answer. Right. And it's so much more nuanced than that, right? It can't create strategy. It can give you the beginning of a strategy, right? But it may not be right because it doesn't know the politics. It doesn't know the inner workings. It doesn't know the people. And that's where humans are still required.
Myra,
we still have value.
We do still have value. Girl, know your worth and then add tax. Double the tax.
Yeah.
Actually. We're in high gas times. Keep adding that tax. Myra,
it's an inflation.
Facts. Besides the book, what's the target release of the book?
You've hit me with that. So it's going to the publisher hopefully next week. And then it's going to be about 6 months before it will hit the shelves.
Oh my God, I can't wait to read it. Can I read an advanced copy?
Yes, I will allow you to read an advanced copy if you will blog or podcast with me on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Please. Yeah. I'm already thinking about, that's the podcast episode we need to continue to do after this. Myra, I will make sure that everyone has your LinkedIn and Consolidating AI's site. I want to thank you so much for being part of the book and being part of my journey and being just such a dear friend and all of your beautiful messages on my birthday and your voice notes. And I think that what I love so much about the work that you do is you're like me, you keep it real. It must be like a Northeast thing. You keep it real. You're honest.
It's so that thing.
Oh yeah, there's that too. That's a double whammy, y'all.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's tough. That is tough. Latinos from the Northeast, we're really going to tell you what it's like. But I think that is the work that matters in a world in which something is being so hyped up and it can be so easy to get swept up in all the possibility. And I don't want you to lose that possibility of something like AI because it can make so many things so much better. But we also need to make sure we have some of that grounding because, things can go wrong very quickly. The wrong thing can get loaded into AI. I know you've shared that on like the webinars that we've done and things like that. And so we just want to make sure that we're being good stewards of data, good stewards of people's information. But we are trying to evolve with the future. And thank you so much again for being part of the book and my journey. And I just appreciate you being here today. Friends, thank you for also listening to this episode. If you have any questions, drop them into the comments, drop us a note, send us a DM. I will make sure that I connect you all with Myra as well. She's got a lot of tools and frameworks that you all can purchase from her site. And I will catch you all on the next episode. Bye.